my name is Vina, aka Miss WOCReader, and welcome back to my channel. It is very humid today, so don't mind if you hear a little bit of breeze in the background. I have the AC on fan just to circulate the air a bit. I am just coming at you with a quick life update because there's going to be some slight changes to this channel probably soon. So a lot of you guys have been following me for the past couple of years. You've seen my journey as far as my career. So back in 2023, in November, I was laid off right before the holidays, which sucks. Like, it sucks losing a job right before the holidays. You have no clue what you want to do. For me especially, it really sucked because I was also going through grief. And I had been planning to take some vacation time off from like the end of November through early December so that I could just focus on me. Then it's like, well, I guess I can definitely take that vacation now because I have a lot of time to focus on me. But like, then I have to think of what I'm going to do after. So I just threw myself into my writing for most of November. At the time, we were still doing NaNoWriMo. I wasn't really doing NaNoWriMo, but I was teamed up with a group of writers who were just every single day we would get on for a couple of hours in the morning and in the evening and write. And that really helped me push through my draft that I had been working on for the longest and get some words on the page to make a significant dent into the story. At the same time, I also had another story idea that had been brewing, which I kind of put to the wayside right now, but I do want to get back to eventually. It was a Christmas romance, a Black romance, something that I don't really see a whole lot of outside of the indie space, which is a great space, but particularly this type of romance I really didn't see. So the goal is by December to get back to that one and see if it's salvageable and if I can continue writing it. So I just tried to live my life to the fullest that December. I spent the first week of December in DC, museum hopping and seeing the sights like the National Christmas Tree. I did a vlog about that, which you guys should definitely check out if you haven't already. And I went to different events throughout December. I went to see the Nutcracker, which was the first time I ever saw the Nutcracker. Got dressed up with my mom and my sister and we went out and had a nice cozy evening. Then once January hit, it's like, okay, now I have to start job hunting. They had paired me off with a career coach and I was just like, I don't know like where to even start because I'm still wasn't in the mood to job hunt. I was crying every day basically while I was going through grief, and I was like letting out my frustration with friends. I'm very glad that I have such great friends that I actually was able to connect through on BookTube. Y'all really held me down during that time. And so the career coach helped me get a resume together. By about March is when I started actually like seriously looking for jobs. And then it was a cycle of I would get an interview and I would think, things were going well. I would think the interview went well, but then I wouldn't hear back from the job, or I would hear back like a month later saying that they gave it to somebody else. And I remember one job, it seemed like my perfect job. It was paying a good amount of money, even more than I made my previous job. It was going to be 100% remote. It was going to be different from the role that I had held at my previous job, but still in line with it. And I was going to have a lot more downtime. And that one I was really hopeful because I went through 2 interviews and I'm like, okay, I got this in the bag. Like the fact that I didn't even apply for that position, I had applied for something else and the recruiter was like, I think you would be aligned with this position and put me in for that one, meant something to me. And then like a month, like after hearing like quickly after the first interview to the second interview, then the second interview happened and I didn't hear anything. I was just like, and that's when I knew like I didn't get it. A month later I heard that I didn't get it. So I was lucky in that I had things to keep me busy in 2024. I was taking all the trips that I normally wouldn't have taken. Like, let me just run to DC for this book launch because I can get a cheap train ticket and get down there and see my friends. I went to Chicago. I decided I was going to stop just saying, "Oh, eventually I'll go, because I had already said that about going to multiple cities. And I remember seeing something going around on Instagram. It was a checklist of different cities you went to in different regions in the US, and I realized I have been to quite a few cities, but I have not really seen the US like that compared to some of the other people I was seeing post. So I said, it's time for me to go to Chicago. I went to Chicago that spring, had a great time. Went to Jamaica a few weeks later in a pre-planned trip that was an amazing time. Got to meet readers from all over and we got to really connect. I was still interviewing for different positions when I came back. I remember one job was also 100% remote, but they asked, do you have any vacation time planned? Because they wanted to start like a couple of weeks before a vacation that I had planned. I'm like, well, I do have this particular one. And the lady was like, oh, immediately, that's not going to do because you can't miss not one day of training. And I was really only going to miss one, maybe 2 days of training tops for this trip. Mind you, it's a lot of book work, but some of these jobs are just very strict. Like, you have to go every day of training, even if you're not learning a thing. So immediately I knew that one was out, but I was not going to give up my planned vacation just to get this job. So ended up going on my vacation to Boston with my mom. We made some great memories. Got back, was searching for a job again. My cousin was going to try and get me in at her job for holiday help. She worked at a department store. I had worked at the department store previously. But then she had a lot of drama going on with her job and she ended up leaving. So I had another interview with the same company, but for a different position in their main office. The interview seemed to go well, but I didn't get it. And I had another interview, like also with that company, didn't get that one. So it just felt like a lot of going in for the interview, not going, like not getting it, and then restarting the cycle, which I know is something a lot of people can relate to right now. The job market is trash. The US job market has been trash for the past few years. I think I was seeing stats that said it's taking some people almost a year to find a job. So I finally found a job when I decided to apply for a temp job that December. Had an interview the first week of January. It was a very weird interview because they didn't really ask me any questions like that, I feel. And the next day they said, you got it. So that was a temp to hire position, which I was always weary of those positions, and I had avoided going to the staffing companies because I didn't want to get put in a temp to hire. But I said, I need something right now because it's been like a year at this point of not having a job, and at that point my unemployment had run out. I was very blessed that I had a lot of money saved up to sustain me in the meantime, but when you have money saved up and you don't have any money replenishing it, you start to get a little worried. At the same time, I was also up for another temp position that was going to pay a lot more. So I was hoping that I would be able to bag that other temp position that paid a lot more and not have to do the one that had offered to me. But then the other temp position fell through and the recruiter was ghosting me, and that was a position that wasn't posted on the company's direct site, so there was no other way to apply. So reluctantly, I had to go to this temp to hire position. When I tell you the amount of work that they had us doing, it just didn't make any sense. They wanted us to do so much for so little pay, and the training was very haphazard to me. I did a video back in May where I talked more about it because I ended up quitting that position with nothing lined up. The entire time I was working that position, I was still taking interviews with different companies. So sometimes on lunch break, I would be in my car interviewing, or when I came home, I would be interviewing. A couple of times I left the job to go to an interview. There was another opportunity that came up, which I really thought I was going to get because I knew a lot of people who worked for the company. I had worked with them previously. But the assistant manager was somebody who had been my manager at a previous job, and we didn't really get along. And I truly feel that's what held me back from getting that position, because I know I had the qualifications for it. But despite not getting that job, I said I have to quit this temp job. Because they were really cracking down. They were saying that they don't usually hire till about a year or more, which also wasn't going to work for me because you don't have any vacation time, and they basically wanted us to be on call. They had specific on-call weeks that they wanted us to work, but then every single day was mandatory overtime. So I was thinking to myself, I don't even have time to interview to try and get a better job, and I'm not going to be trapped in this position. So my mom was upset because she is one of those like old school West Indian parents. She's just like, you can't leave a job without having a job lined up. I'm like, I can though, because I do have some money saved up to cushion me in the meantime. And this job is not really benefiting me because it's not paying enough to cover all of my bills. So I had already had some interviews lined up. I had done one of those video interviews the same week that I quit, and then they had offered me a second interview. I also had another interview lined up in person. So I went to those interviews, ultimately ended up not getting those positions. In the meantime, I decided to again focus on my writing because I was so stressed out from that job that I did not get to work on the revisions I wanted to do for the book that I've been working on, which is another one of my goals, to revise this book so I can submit it to agents so I can eventually get it published. This is a dream of mine that I've talked about on here. A lot of people have been following my journey with that. I was reading, I was revising, I was applying to jobs. Finally, about 2 weeks ago, I interviewed for a position during the holiday week, like around Juneteenth. And then I got a call back to go in person for an interview. Went in person, they really seemed to like me, and by the end of the week, they called me and gave me a verbal offer. Now, they asked when I wanted to start. At the time I had said, oh, you know, I can start like as soon as possible. What I did not expect was for them to want to start like less than 2 weeks. So I'm making this video now because tomorrow is Thursday and it's going to be my first day at the new job. Now, starting on a Thursday, it's just like, do we really have to start at the end of the week? But they're in the middle of doing a merger, so they wanted me to get in before the merger, and the merger finalizes on Monday. So it's going to be like a different transition, because you know, like sometimes before you start a new job, you want to get everything together. You just have things you want to mentally prepare yourself for and stuff. I didn't have a whole lot of time to mentally prepare for this job, but I am hoping that this is a much better environment than my previous job. It's definitely paying more, which is great. I was able to negotiate higher than they initially wanted to pay. And it's full-time with benefits. I'm going to have an hour lunch. It is in person for the first 3 months, and then I'm able to be hybrid. I'm hoping it stays hybrid because I really do like having those days where I get to work from home. I feel like at home you just get so much more done because you're not confined to the office. You're not distracted by your coworkers. You can multitask on the things you want to do. Like, I would be working and I'd also be reading a book at the same time. I would be writing a book review. I would be doing content before or after work, like sitting down to film videos during lunch break. I'm very good at balancing like that when I work from home and making the most of my time. But another nice thing is that at least, like, when I have to go in, I'm across the street from a Marshall's and a Ross and a Michael's. So I will be dashing into there often, especially on my hour lunch break. Pray for my wallet, y'all. But I just wanted to give you guys this update since a lot of you have been following me on my journey. Many of you have listened to my rants about the job hunt. And my content is probably going to look a little bit different after the upcoming weeks. I don't know what my filming schedule is going to be like. So far, I've been pretty consistent the past year for dropping at least one video a week, usually on a Monday. Many weeks, if I have more time, it's been 2 videos a week. Even when I was working, I would try and film a video that could go up on Monday. Before I worked, I had pre-filmed some content. I pre-filmed some videos already, so I should be good for the next couple of weeks. But I don't know yet when I will, like, what my filming schedule is going to be looking like, how I'm going to feel up to filming, if I'm going to have time to really read as much as I want to read. I don't have a huge TBR this month, so that also helps. And I have the weekends off at least, which is another great thing. Having the weekends off to be able to relax and recoup is always a great thing. So thank you guys who have been supporting me along my journey. A lot of you have wished me well, and I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!